My name is Erica Haig, and I'm interviewing Amanda Hollowell for the Georgia State University Women's March Oral History Project. The date is July 15th, 2017, and this interview is taking place at the Georgia Historical Society in Savannah, Georgia. Welcome.
Thank you.
Amanda, what year were you born and where were you born?
I was born in 1979, and I was born in Palm Springs, California.
California. What brought you to Georgia?
I fell in love with Savannah when I came and visited my sister, and then she kind of wooed me like, we've never lived together, you come hang out, and I came, and then she left like a year and a half later. She's a military wife, so. But I don't regret it. I've been here 9 years, so yeah.
Can you describe your family's political leanings?
We lean heavily liberal to radical liberal, some of us. We do have some conservative moments, but mostly liberal, yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to move my chair a little bit here. So what political party do you support, or is there a political party that you support?
I'm a proud Democrat. I've been a Democrat my whole life, so that's all I know.
And what is your profession?
So I am a full-time education specialist in organ donation. So I work in multicultural communities and talk to them about preventative health care, health disparities, and then I also try to talk to them about registering to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor.
Awesome. Have you been involved in political activities in the past?
Yes.
In the Women's March?
Yes. So I graduated from UC Berkeley. So I'm always down for a good protest or a walk or a march or maybe a tiny riot. Just a tiny one. But even like now to this day, even though I love my full-time job, I do have a part-time job with Georgia's Women List as their communications director, and they try to get Democratic progressive women elected in state office. So I am through and through very much a political activist. I feel like I'm more so of an advocate than an activist. Like activism is part of my life, but I definitely want to see like change. So I'm always advocating for the little guy and information to be spread equally.
Can you go into a little bit more about how you see a difference between advocate and activist?
Yes. So activism anyone can be an activist, right? Social activism. There's some folks who can't get off social media, and that's where they live in their activism. And that's okay. Like, you gotta have voices everywhere. And, but they don't have the ability to or time to get out and show up at your rally or whatever, or those kind of things. Advocates more so are trying to look for solutions that they can apply from what you've gotten feedback from people who need help, right? So when you go out in the communities and you're doing just more so research data and you're like, okay, so we're food deserts. Food deserts. So is the best example. So you go into these lower economic communities and you see that the only thing they have are like little hand-me-down stores that sell pretty much unhealthy junk food, and they don't have an action to get to a grocery store with fresh fruits and good options. So for me, that person who gets activated that day and is like, you know what, I'm going to present this to the city council or like some sort of well-fed or some sort of like people who feed people, and maybe even present it to a business and be like, this would be the best place to do a supermarket, or we need a community garden. That's where I feel like those are more so in those advocates who are really trying to make that change. Activism is enlightenment and alerts the society of what's going through, and advocates trying to get in there and do more so of the change matter.
Awesome. Do you have family members who have participated in an activist movement that sort of inspired you or anything like that?
No. We've all been outspoken. I come from a very strong line of women who were very outspoken and very democratic, and I think I took my family for granted and our beliefs because I lived in California. So in California, everyone's pretty much like, yeah, whatever, like, do you, blah blah blah, and you kind of live this fanciful life of liberalism, which and then I moved to Georgia, and then I realized that like, one, I was super blessed to be able to have these type of like, yeah, just go do that, right? Like, no one telling me like, I don't know, I had some people were pessimistic naturally, but I didn't have anyone holding me back when I was like, you guys, I'm gonna ride an elephant, and they're like, do it, and those kind of moments. So to come here and see when I'm talking to folks and I'm like, but y'all can be that change. And they're like, well, I don't know. And da-da-da. And I'm like, oh, that's what that is, right? That freedom and that fear. And I don't really know what that is sometimes. And so I get frustrated fast at times. And I'm learning more so now how to bring everyone to the table where they are.
So did you participate in many marches, like an organized march?
Yeah, so at Berkeley, affirmative action was like my first real, I'm out there talking about it, and like to be in that protest at the school and walk, and and just to have people judge me and assume how I got into that school and that I wasn't worthy, and so that it hit home to me, and so that was my first time really getting activated. And then from then I just joined like National Council of Negro Women and CalCore, which was like the public service, social service groups. I worked for Make-A-Wish Foundation, so like it just went on and on and on. So like that was the first time that I really was like, I'm activated and this is what I'm doing, was the affirmative action movement.
Why did you want to march on January 21st, and where did you march?
Well, I am a proud single mom, and marching was not in my feasible calendar because I have a child, and at that time I don't know what we were doing. We were wrapping up football, starting up baseball, so I wasn't leaving. There was no way. And so for a while I struggled with the idea of the Women's March. I was not sold on it. Being an African American woman, some of the things that we were highlighting, I've been doing this my whole life. This is not going to change. I wake up black every day, and I'm also a woman. So it just depends on how that person feels about me, what prejudice I'm going to get that day. But I'm not immune to this. So I wasn't sold. I wasn't going to participate. My executive director for the Georgia Swim List called, and she was like, you got to do something in Savannah. And I was like, let me give you the spill why I'm not going to do anything in Savannah. And she was like, not good enough. And she goes, because if anyone knows why it's important to have a voice and show leadership, it's you. So I was like, all right, cool. So I tried to reach out to a subgroup who was doing their own march. And having a thing, but they were doing it more so in like an organic filler and not really structured and organized. And because I was going to use the Georgia's Win List name, I had to go through like proper channels. So we ended up having 2 rallies in here in Savannah, one in Johnson Square and one in Wright Square. And it was perfect, right? So if you were that person who wanted to cuss on the mic and scream and talk in a blowhorn to your cohorts, you went down that way, and that was a more organic organization. If you wanted to hear some amazing women that I was able to pull together, and me giving you just some speeches and ways to really get engaged and sign up for something immediately, you came down to Johnson Square. And what I was most proud about was I got to pick the speakers, and they were sent to me by referrals, but I also made sure that I had a lot of black women on that. Because for me, it was like, all right, so 1 minute I'm saying I'm not doing it because of this. Well, if I had the chance to do it, let me show you all these amazing women who are doing this work that you don't know. Because their work might not be front page news in Savannah, but it's the work that's being done. So it was awesome. It was so cool. Like it was, you're looking at like 700 and 800 people, like just listening and like engaged and hurt and wanting some answers, and wanting to get activated, and like, how can you not be like inspired by that every day? I cried a little. Cause I cried. During the planning process, I cried a lot because everybody had an opinion. But that day, I cried in tears of joy because I was like, wow, this really happened. Like, I really effing did this. So cool. And I was very supported by people, and it was okay to lead and push through and say, no, we're not doing it that way. We're doing it this way, and that's what it is. And then people rallied around that because they got it. They got that I wanted it to be a place where people understood what was happening. And I was doing it for a bigger picture look rather than like, look how amazing I am. Because there's a lot of amazing folks who are planning amazing things right now during this time of the year for their own resume. And I wanted to do it because I cared about it. And I knew what I had said previously. So I had to stay here, coordinate the march here. And I was shocked how many people were just so on board and so open, and and so we were all here doing that community thing, and running away and marching and speaking and yelling. Lots of emotion. Painting.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about how you organized it and how you, like who you found to speak and what topics you felt were really important to sort of highlight?
So I went through, we have like Georgia's Windless had a steering committee. So once we decided that we had to go through like proper channel organization, it was mostly through email and me texting friends and like, I want someone, so how I based my speakers, I based them on the topics that we were talking about at the march as a whole. So I took the overlining themes, you know, like environment, sexual, everything at this point. Women's rights, prejudice, you know, racism, equal pay, security, gun rights, like the whole thing. So I found someone who was able to speak on everything, education. And there were some dynamic speakers. So I would just throw out names. Someone was like, oh, you need so-and-so from Planned Parenthood, who was Nita. And then Dr. McLean, who was Harambe House, does great things about the environment. And so does, we talked about homelessness. And Cindy Kelly with the Savannah Homeless Project, you know, she actually got approved to have tiny houses built for veterans. So she spoke, right. Alethea Moore, who was in the top 5 for Teachers of the Year for the state, spoke about education. And, of course, Miriam Sharp spoke for Georgia's Windless because she's the vice chair and sits on the board. Edna Jackson spoke about life and just being an empowered woman and what it looks like to be a woman in politics and what, you know, I mean, when you get a chance to have history speak out loud and you listen, right? And I always tell folks that, like, there's history all over Savannah, and we shouldn't take it lightly. So, like, you've got people who are literally in the civil rights movement, right? Who really remembered when black people couldn't shop on Broughton after, you know, until 5 p.m., right? Mm-hmm. So I had Edna speak, Ms. Jack, our former mayor. And then I might be forgetting some, but there were several others. I asked Elizabeth North, but she couldn't speak, but she came back around for the second one. So, you know, Okora Register, she was doing the interview right now. She spoke, she did on LGBTQ, she came from Armstrong, so she was our youngest speaker, most dynamic. Talk about, like, the future's blessed if we have more cores in the world. And that was just awesome for me. Those were just those moments that I was just like, wow. Like, you guys just gave me all these awesome referrals, and these women, like, just stepped up to the plate. They didn't know me. I was sending a text message, like, hey, you want to meet me Saturday? And at a square, you want to speak about stuff that, like, really means stuff? Like, who does that? I did. So that was the best part. Like, I plan and organize events anyways. It was interesting to plan and organize an event and try to do it for a multitude of reasonings and not leave someone out, right? I'm sure I left out someone or some cause, but, like, overall, people were, like, super inspired and with it, so that was cool. Yeah, I think we collected, like, 300 emails or something. Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, look at all these people willing to give up their private information in this day and age. I'm going to email you, too.
Send me your information.
Right.
So, obviously you had sort of mixed feelings from the start about it. How did that sort of transform over time, and where are you now with the feelings before?
Right. So, what I will appreciate about the national movement is that they have acknowledged their shortcomings. And acknowledged that in the beginning it was a lot of just white women yelling. And and they've moved past that, right? They also did a great job recently here of separating themselves from the Pantskin Nation, because I felt like that lady just kind of sold us all down the river. Like, that was nuts. Like, and I don't think she took the responsibility for what you ignite in folks, right? And you got to give them a way to, like, drive that somewhere. It was just weird. And so for me, once I saw that I can make change personally here locally and form this voice. And then once I saw that the national movement was recognizing, like, crap, like, we got to get away from all that crazy and move to, like, a structured format where we're actually giving people things to do instead of yelling on social media and posting pictures of themselves as Rosie the Riveter. Like, so today I am in I'm in a mode where I love it. It's still a good igniter. It still reminds us to refocus and not lose not to refocus and not lose the strength in the battle, because this is not a short game. And I think a lot of people entered it for the instant gratification of being part of a march. This is a long haul, 4 years. 2020, 18, 20. So for me now it's about like, how do we take these awesome women in the community and get them in office? And how do we ignite them and support them so they don't walk away from this going, well, let me go back to my job and let me go back to my nonprofit. No, that's awesome. Stay there, but now I need you to go run for office. I need you to engage yourself, be a campaign manager, do something where we're actually changing the face of power. Because what we learned the hard way was, if it don't look like us, it's not going to reflect us. And you can't rely on people's morals to do right.
Yep.
People will vote against their own morals and their own ways if they think they can get ahead for their own selfish issues.
Yeah. That's true. Unfortunately.
Right.
So what were your expectations before, and were those met for the march here?
I had no expectations. I really thought someone was like gonna egg me and throw things and boo me, like, because it was tense, right? So it was tense. We hadn't really like settled with it. People were still like mourning Barack, like, you know, like it. That inauguration, it was not cute. Like, so for me, I was petrified. I was like, what if I do something or say something, or they don't like my sense of humor, that I'm kind of being light with this, but I'm trying to be informative, and they hate me for it, right? Like, so for me, I was very, I was scared shitless that I was not going to pull this off and get a message through to folks. Now, the message is through. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's through, I would say the message has been set. Like, here's the message, these are things you can get involved in, help us, right? So now it's figuring out, how do you engage on so many different levels, from like local to state to national, even in your local school districts and those kind of things, to your, So so for me, it's like, I think in the beginning we overwhelmed folks, right? Like every day it was like, well, call your senator, they're banning bananas. Like, I was like, yo, like, we can't call them all the time. Like, we got to figure out a way to make this streamlined for folks so they can understand, like, okay, don't vote yes on that, because that's going to totally mess up my life. Got it. Thank you, right? Yeah. Pressure him to do this. Show up at this town hall and speak out. You know what I mean? And like, so that's where I see this movement going, is trying to get people more activated and like, okay, so now I take all this information I got and all this angst, and I show up at Buddy Carter's town hall, which I did, and you yell and scream outside, blah, blah, blah. Or I donate to Planned Parenthood and do, volunteer hours on top of that. Or I find a rape crisis center, or I get into our school system and our justice and criminal justice reform, and try to figure out how I can help. Do I need to start a volunteer program, a mentor academy? Do I need to donate to a mentor academy or something that way? So it's trying to say, like, people are already doing this work. Just go help them and finish it. That was probably one of my bigger frustrations after the march, was all of a sudden everyone was like, well, listen, I'm going to start this. Let me stop. How am I going to say this? Okay. So people were really engaged and ignited, and I think the biggest frustration for myself personally was there were people who were like, I'm going to start a new organization to get women in office. And I was like, yeah, we already do that. So, like, there's Emily's list, and there's Annie's list, there's George's one list, so don't do that. Find out how we do it and see if you can support our candidates. Will you? Thanks, guys. Bye. So, so that's where that wave happened. And finally people are realizing, like, okay, people are doing this. So let me go help them, right? So now it's, how do you help and then not die from fatigue, because not everyone's fatigued. And that's okay. You do have to take a mental break. I got fatigued. I had to start saying no to folks, and they were like, why is Amanda being so mean? And I'm like, dude, I just planned 2 women's marches. Y'all message me on social media at all times of night. Did you see what he did? Did you do this? Yes, I did. It's everything from now on until we get new leadership is going to be messed up. And we have to reconcile that. And say, all right, look, I expect nothing less than bullshit. So let me figure out how to counter the bullshit that you're presenting.
Yeah. So going from like a reactionary to a not being reactionary, I guess.
Well, so you're being proactive, right? They let down. They gave us all their. They gave you the game plan. I'm gonna get rid of healthcare. I'm not reforming the prison system. Blah blah blah. So just remember what he said in all those speeches, and then what your local government and your state officials are saying too, and then be like, all right, cool. So let me go register more people to vote because they're purging our voter polls because they need to find all those false votes, right? So like that's where I'm just kind of like, so people like this isn't rocket science. They were like pop quiz on Thursday. Shut up. So.
It's true.
So I guess that's where I get like kind of fatigued myself, where people are so appalled. Yeah. Oh my god! And I'm like, for real? It's like he said that like 12 times. Like I literally could give you like an edit of all the times he said that.
Yeah. I don't know why people are shocked either. It's like he literally said he was gonna do this.
I'm gonna have to edit like 20 minutes of me laughing, you and I laughing.
It'll be alright.
That's literally all you can do now is just laugh.
Don't laugh, you'll cry.
Right, exactly.
So you mentioned that you are a single mother, and you have a son.
Yeah.
Did he come and get involved at all, or did you talk with him about it?
Oh yeah, he's like So we did Black Lives Matter march together, and like I almost like just my tears, cause so for him, he's extremely spoiled to have me as his mother, because he gets to see a side of humanity that most kids don't get exposed to at his age, right? So he gets to see how active I am in my community. He gets to see that like I am /activist /advocate, and then he gets to actively participate in this because I let him have a voice. And I don't say like, Joe, that's his name. Joe, this is for grown-ups. I'm like, yo, get in on this and help mommy pass out these flyers and put up this tent and we're gonna protest. Like we're marching all over this thing. That Saturday, he was exhausted, and I did give him a break, but he has been highly inclined on what's happening and what it is. And so, like, he's even watched The Handmaid's Tale with me. And so for him, especially about criminal reform and yeah, so I'm getting emotional. Being a young black man and me having really, really fucked up conversations with my child. And yeah, always talking to him about like his morality at 15 is really not fair.
Yeah.
So
it's not something you should have to deal with at that age.
No,
or
like
ever, really, like
right. So like, yeah, you can't walk down the street. And if you do, I need you to look like this. Because I don't know how someone's going to respond to you. So that has really, like, hit home for me. Out of all this stuff, that has hit home for me. And just knowing, like, and I'm telling him all the time, I'm like, your one mistake for you could cost you 10 to 15 years in our prison system because it's naturally built against you. Mm-hmm. So I can't let you make mistakes. And so I'm harder on you. And sometimes I'm cold because I know what's on the other side of a bad mistake for you. So yeah, that's been like the biggest challenge, is that I still have this human being that For once, for a long time, and my mom was so funny, I thought I was protecting him from me. And every time he has a birthday, my mom calls and she goes, he's still alive. And I'm like, I know, like, I did it. Like, yes. Now, I'm protecting him from everybody else. And that was a naivete I've confronted. So, it's hard. It's hard. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I can complain all day long about how I feel and about, oh, I only make this much money on the dollar. You know, but like watching what his future is shaping like scares the shit out of me every day.
Is that one of like your greatest fears, is like his future and what that looks like?
Especially. Yes. And then how do you teach someone to navigate through just hell? And people... How do I teach him how to navigate against people plotting against you to fail? I can't. Like, so I can give you every opportunity in the world and try to make sure that you're making the right decisions and try to make sure, you know, and it's, I mean, you guys want my honest opinion, like, we're black, so I still have to tell him, like, oh yeah, we have to be 2 times better and you have to do this and our only options right now are athleticism but we're gonna get into STEM and this, you know what I mean? Like, it's heavy. It weighs heavy on how many different things affect him. So, yeah, I mean, that's just like, I think that's like the shittiest part of all of this is that, like, I'm probably one of the few women I know around my age who have a child and at his age, and to actively be in this and really just sitting there looking at him and going, damn. Like, I really gotta fix this. Because I can't let you go through this. I can't. And then, like, someone said, because I sit on the board of Girls on the Run. I'm very women-focused, but I have a son. Someone was like, why are you so, like, into women's rights and you have a kid? You have a child, boy. And I was just like, dude, at the end of the day, like, I need to make sure, like, he's dating, like, quality women, like, and these women have gotten... a fair shake in life. Like, I gotta make sure the market's good for my boy. So, like, you know, this is how I gotta do it, then that's so be it. Like, if she's not politically involved or inclined, she can't come in my house. She's not registered to vote. You guys aren't dating. The end.
So do you see, you talked about a little bit about people sort of getting activated and getting ignited to do more. Do you see now, even though there is sort of a fatigue, that people are joining and being more active in local community efforts and national efforts?
They are. A lot of them are not doing it the right way, and that's okay. You got to run into a wall a couple times before you figure out I'm not doing it the right way. But at the end of the day, like, they are active, and I appreciate that, and people are sharing their voice, and that's awesome. So I don't want to, like, tell people, like, ew, you're not doing that right. Like, this is how you protest. Like, who the hell am I? But I do try to, like, inform them, like, oh yeah, go over there and do that there. They love that kind of stuff, and they're gonna worship the ground you walk on if you support them that way. So that's, like, those kind of things. And then I also think, like, I mean, the future for me, I can already see it because I'm active. I'm still involved, right? So I still helped and assisted 3 or 4 campaigns right after the election, you know, and trying to flip seats in Georgia. Debbie Pepper's up north in Georgia. Donna McLeod is going to run again, and she clearly was, like, screwed by gerrymandering, which was like, you know. Kristen Tribush, who ran on the undercard of John Ossoff, you know, I worked on that campaign. So, like, for me, that's exciting, right? Like, to just keep watching, it's like, we're going to keep trying. We're going to keep trying. We're going to keep trying. But then you've got seats, I think, like, Oklahoma are flipping. Yeah. So, like, then you're like, there's those little battles that you have to stay in tune to. So, I'm like, 2018 is going to be so lit. Like, like, I can't... Like, you better get on a campaign somewhere because everyone's running, like, unqualified or not, and I love it. But I mean, you gotta. But you also, at the end of the day, once we get through primaries, we have to buckle down and have real game plans and not run on like lightsabers. No disrespect, but you know what I mean. And I also feel like we cannot placate that we're liberal, democratic, progressive people. That is where Bernie Sanders and the Bernieites win. They're like, I'm a Bernie and I do this and I'm nuts. And, you know, and I love it. Like, that's their gang. I love it. They throw up signals, you know, they have colors. Like, like their whole thing. And I wished as a Democrat we were more that. Like, so instead of trying to, like, run under the radar, we're just unabashedly like, I'm a Democrat, suck it. Like, this is how I roll. I believe in all these awesome, great things. And you either want it or you don't. Because the opposite side, they run that way. They are, you know, women's rights out the window. I don't believe in that. Like, you know, where's my guns, my Bible, all that good stuff. And they're so forward with it and so proud of it. So why do we have to like placate and be like, so yeah, I'm kind of a Democrat, like on Thursdays.
On Wednesdays we wear pink.
Right. Nice.
So the campaigns that you've worked on, have they been a lot of people that are like first time, like being politically active, like on a candidate level?
So they range. So they go from everywhere. So like I worked on Edna Jackson's re-election campaign. That's an old bet. Like that's nothing, right? That's a no-brainer. To Christine Tribosh, who was a pantsuiter, you know, and was just activated through the pantsuit nation. It was like, I'm running, you know. Donna McLeod was before all this and just saw something that she wanted to do and she wanted to run, and that was awesome. Debbie Peppers was the same thing. She got activated kind of in the midst of it all, right? And then her election happened, her voting. So she was brand new too. All her money too. Like, hats off to you. Because anytime you got that kind of money and you're like, I'm going to bet it all on 7. Like, that's cojones. And I was super, like, impressed with her. So, yeah. So those, I know I'm going to work on more newer, unseasoned people. But at the end of the day, like, it's going to be fun. Because they're going to come with their authentic selves because they don't know the rules, right? And then, you know, and then there's going to be people like Park Cannon and Brenda Lopez. Who else? All the old school ladies like Nan Orick and, you know, they all, with Georgia's Windless, we all assist them in some way and support them. So they're, you know, they're like veterans now and seasoned and they have their voice and they figured out their platform. So it's going to be a hodgepodge of just newbies to seasoned veterans. So people are like, I don't even believe in Facebook. And they're like, what? Oh my God. I love it. So yeah.
Awesome. Do you think that social media had a big impact in the turnout of the march here or in the future of activism?
Yes. Yeah. And it wasn't just the march here, just period, right? Mm-hmm. And what I did like, there's a lot of things I don't like about social media, even though I'm a tech person for a lot of things. And there's a lot of things I love about social media. So what I loved about social media and activism is that it connected the dots for folks, right? And like they were like, Amanda is at a march in Savannah and I'm going to a march in Cali. So like I have friends all over the country, all over the world too, who are like, yo, I'm doing a march this weekend, taking pictures, and they're like, you know, and I'm like, oh, that's so cute. And they're like, yeah, I saw your march. Facebook Live has been amazing in activism, highlighting some serious things. I mean, Black Lives Matter was created through social media, right? A lot of your LGBTQ issues are spread through social media. So the Women's March gauging into social media and kind of giving these women a voice to say like, oh, you're going through that too. And then what I also found was it was a lot of, I didn't know that. Yeah. I didn't know that. And you're like, yeah, yes, that's, yeah, I don't make the same amount of money as you. I didn't know that. Right, I know, it's okay, clutch the pearls, but it's cool, I'm going to get you through this, we're going to figure it out. Yeah, so it was so, you know, and The negative, of course, is like your Pizzagates and your, your just infiltration of fake news. Which is really not fake news. It's people criticizing. Oh my God, let me stop.
Okay. This is a safe space.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, this is only history. It's only a recording of history.
It's true.
Yeah.
So the day of the march, you talked a little bit about the speakers that you had and that you organized. Was there, can you tell me a little bit more about like the atmosphere, the signs, if there was any like chants or songs?
Oh yeah, there was too many chants and songs, and I don't remember all of them. There were signs everywhere. There was pink pussy hat Nita things everywhere. I wore a red, white, and blue patriotic shirt that I cut off to like a shoulder thing because it was cute. And there were chants, which I don't remember, but they did have the chant list from the National, so some people were leading those chants in the crowd. Some people made up their own chants, and I was like, I'm with that too. The vibe was, I don't want to say tense, and I don't want to say electric, but you felt everyone at that event. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so, like, it was just a vibe of unknown. And so let's get here today and see what everyone's saying that we're supposed to do. Because I'm angry, I'm emotional, I'm pissed, I'm elated, I'm excited that we're doing this. This is huge and my part of a change in history. So I feel like the vibe was unknown, but accepting of whatever the outcome was and ready to like fix it. Yeah. Yeah, it was weird. No, I mean, no one had any expectations. Who does this? All we have are like, and that was another thing. I talked to my mom the night before and the morning of. And so she's, God bless her, because she's like 3 hours behind me in California. And she didn't get to go to a march. They didn't really have a march in our city. And she's like, do you have everything? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I have everything. Like, what's everything? And she's like, do you have like, the information and what are you going to say? And I was like, oh, I'm just going to wing it. I'm going to let the speaker say it. I'm just there to introduce them and housekeeping and crowd control. She was like, okay. Then that morning she called me. She's like, you ready? I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. Like, what is this? Like, is this a beauty contest? And and then she said, because on this day, she was like, because you need to understand your responsibility on this day. And on this day, though, you feel like you're just an MC. You're something to someone. And you need to own that responsibility and take heed to it. And then I threw up a little in my mouth, and I was like, whoa, lady, that's not fair. Like, I'm just really good at events. And so I went in there with like a sense of purpose. And when she said, I think even more so when she said, because I don't get to do this today. Then I realized like, oh, right. Like everyone doesn't have access to be a part of this. Right? And then she was like, because I was a little girl in Magnolia, Arkansas, watching, her go into that school and step up and, integrate a school and watch them spit and yell at her and walk. And when she was talking, I was like, okay, I got it now. Yeah. And she was like, so don't take this for granted, what you got up and did this morning. Because not everyone gets to do it. So that was huge for me.
So it sounds like your mom was really supportive.
She was very supportive. My mom would riot at the White House right now if her doctor would release her. She'd throw her cane and all.
Were your friends and other family members supportive too, or?
Yes, everyone was pretty supportive. Except they were like, this little light attitude that you have, you need to change it and tighten it up a little. And then there were times I was frustrated because I just felt like I was like, just everyone, I had moments where I was just like, oh my God, I just want everyone to do it my way. Like, why do we? I'm gonna be honest. I had to send many emails like, sorry I snapped at you. Because as we got closer. And then that like lineup in DC was like super sick. Like, so they're adding folks and all of a sudden Madonna's there and you're like, oh, thanks, dude. Like, you guys were supposed to have like a community organized. And I was like the who's who of vaginas. Speaking. So like, does my little Savannah thing even make an impact?
Yeah.
Does it mean anything if you guys are going hard, like so big with that? And they did do a good job at what I will appreciate was later they took numbers from us all and they added that and they said this many people across the country participated, not just here. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Because at the end of the day, we didn't watch them because we were doing our own thing. Yeah. And everyone's like, oh, I'll just go home and watch it on C-SPAN. They'll play it over and over again, which they did. And then even then, when I got feedback from people afterwards, they were like, I felt more connected here.
Yeah.
Because it was here. And you made that space for us to be here. And to hear folks that are doing those things that they're doing at the Capitol, but here. And that was awesome. And I was like, oh, okay. Cool. Like, that made it better. But it does. It gets intimidating. Like, could you imagine? Like, no, you can't. I mean, you can, but you can't. Yeah. You know, and then, yeah. I just was like, this sucks. Like,
you didn't tell me it'd be like this.
I thought it was going to be like, all kind of happiness, and it's like, we are women. No, it's like, bitch.
Yeah. Lots of strong personality.
Very strong. Very strong. And, you know, don't forget about the little babies and the babies. And I'm like, okay, I got it covered. They're good. And don't forget about, yes. Yes. You've also texted me several times. But I mean, to look, hindsight is 2020, like to look back at it, I feel like it had to happen that way. And I had to kind of put myself through the ringer emotionally, personally, professionally to understand what everybody needed and wanted. Because people were pissed and they were scared more than anything. Because before we realized he was a bumbling fool, 7 months later, and the Congress can't pass a rock. It was definitely scary to think what your future was like on that day. You don't know parliamentary procedures? Jeez.
Was law enforcement an issue here in Savannah, or was there good interactions, bad interactions with them?
We had great interactions with them. It helps when Edna Jackson is one of your speakers. When the former mayor comes through, she just kind of talks to folks. And on both times, so in the January one and on the Day Without Women on March 8th, I did both of those.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and then the second time I did that one was Coco Poppy. So Coco led the group away with the buses and led that cohort to DC. I stayed back and did. So then on March 8th, we did this together and did the Day Without Women. So what was interesting was because we're in the South and here comes little just naive Amanda, they were like, we're more so here to protect you from them.
Yeah.
And I went, what do you mean? And they were like, you're in the South.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys decided to take over a square downtown. Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, yeah. There are people who are unhappy with this. There are people who are 100% behind this man. Yeah. So that was the first time that, in January, that was the first time I heard that. No, we're more so here to protect y'all. I was like, oh. And then one of my friends, it was hilarious, she was like, we don't need no. I was like, listen, yes we do. I don't need no man protection. I was like, today we do. Today, yes, because I didn't think about that way.
Yeah. Were there any issues with folks that were there like in opposition?
First time around in January, I had no clue. I couldn't even tell you. I was just kind of in the zone and trying to make the event happen. But I'm sure there were. I'm sure I've heard instances about when they went off to march. There were, folks that weren't that supportive. So yes, and I mean you'll get it. You'll see the Trump Pence sticker, whatever bumper sticker on the back, and they're like, and all that other stuff, and you're like, that's awesome. Great.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there was instances. I just didn't. It didn't register to me that someone would oppose. Just a bunch of women trying to be like, hey y'all, we're women. We don't have to take this anymore.
Was there issues for the A Day Without a Woman at all?
No, but again, they came out to protect, because that one was different. So that one was way more focused on women.
Yeah.
And so they came out again, and they were like, just here to make sure nobody bothers y'all. No one gets upset. And I'm like, wow. Like, oh my God, that's so weird. But they were just super helpful the whole time. They were good. They're great. So again, it helps.
Yeah. Trying to we want that.
Right? I talk a lot. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. It's here. We're here for you to talk. Not for you to talk. So, I'd like to talk more about the Day Without a Woman, because I think that was something that I participated in and I felt very strongly about. But I felt like in Atlanta it was not.
I heard
it was not as big as it should have been. I felt like.
Right.
Can you tell me a little bit more about how it was here in Savannah and what happened? And
Savannah was fun.
Yeah.
So it was. I actually took the day off from work. I filled out that vacation time. And so for me and Coco, it was like, all right, so who did we not get to cover the first round? So we found this time we got to focus on LGBTQ. So we had Miss T come speak out. We brought back in the Rape Crisis Center with Miss Keisha. And she was dynamic. This time we actually had a fair of vendors earlier. So we had Girls on the Run have a table. We had folks who were trying to get donations of tampons and pads for women in prison. It was, we had some health information out there. We had the NAACP was there registering folks to be voters. We had a Pantsuit Nation group that actually turned into a organized nonprofit called STAR. They were giving out political information about how to get engaged. And there's several other folks. Oh, we had someone there from Y-Face, which is a youth for a cleaner environment. They had a table. So we had this pre-fair all during the day. And what we did was we encouraged women to come hang out and take the day off. So what was interesting, what was real stressful the first time around, was this time around women were showing up with beach chairs, and they were just like, what's up? We were all just there, and I was like, this is so much fun. And then that evening at 5, right when downtown everyone lets out, we had the speeches and the presentations. And then the people who were vendors, they stayed or they didn't stay, and then people brought their chairs. So this time around was wow, women, when you see a bunch of women relax and looking at you going yeah, I'm not doing anything today except being a woman. That is... That's so much fun. So it was so much fun the whole day. Girls were taking pictures and they're red and posting it on Facebook, and then we had this amazing set of speakers, and it was just awesome. It was so cool. Yeah, I like that one. Because it wasn't stressful. It was just man, let us be awesome. And we were. And now let you feel what it feels like not to. And there was one hiccup. Not a hiccup. So the challenge was, on the national platform, A Day Without Women was posed as a strike. Mm-hmm. Then you got a subsect of women who were I can't take the day off and strike, I'll lose my job.
Yeah. Right?
So for us here locally, what we said was, there's 10 ways to get a jade, or I don't know, some odd. We gave 5 ways or 10, I don't know. But we're wear red, donate to this place. Come by at 5 when you get off. Use your lunch break and spend time with us. And then that one kind of connected and crossed, it did that intersectional thing that we needed to do. And people really appreciated that. So I did have women come on their lunch break and was I'm just coming by on my lunch break and just to come out and support y'all. Look, I'm wearing red. So it was those cute things. And then people did come after work wearing red. There was a sea of red. That was interesting. It was a smaller crowd. Not too much. Yeah, it was a smaller crowd, but it was engaged folks who got it, right? And then they appreciated that we kept talking about, these are all the ways you can get engaged. You don't have to strike. It's just about highlighting you're a woman and I put in work and I make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some women were like, and I got it. I was a little negative about it, but I accepted it later when they were like, I won't clean the house. And someone posted that and I went after them on Facebook and I was like, it's not about that you didn't clean the house, it's about you birthed those child. Like, you gave birth to these children. You created the family. He can't create this family without you. And they were like, oh, and I was like, right. We do more than cook, clean, and raise children. We're literally the epicenter of life. Enjoy that. Wear that as a sash.
Yeah.
Give yourself more credit than cooking and cleaning.
Yeah.
You're the emotional support system for many. You're so many different things as a woman in a household, even though you are a stay-at-home mom. Don't down yourself and minimize your impact with, I'm not going to wash dishes today. Girl, bye. You do way more than that. You probably balance the checkbook. Like, you make sure the lights are turned on. Just because he works doesn't mean you aren't the backbone of the family.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for folks that are considering to go to a march or participate in an activity in the future, activist activity in the future, or want to get involved in politics?
One, stay hydrated. 2, if you're going to a march, don't go with expectations of what you think a march should be. You know what I mean? Don't be like, I saw videos of marches and it wasn't like this. Go to that march and accept it the way it is, or that rally, and just figure out how you can get engaged with these folks, because it's a lot of work and it's exhausting emotionally and physically. So like, be respectful to these folks and like, you know, show up with an open mind and just ready to scream and yell at every chant you don't know, and hold a sign up and paint and do whatever you can to, you know, make sure you're supporting them. For politics, it is okay to be a first-time runner, but listen to those veterans and take that advice when someone says you got to check. I'm hard-headed. I honestly, like, if I ever run for politics, they're gonna, like, this interview did not work well for for my political future, because but I was authentic and I was myself. However, you do have to conform a little. But as long, I mean, like, oh, you can't wear that outfit and don't, you know, show all your tattoos, but don't conform your moral reasoning or why you decided to run for politics, right? Because you're, I hope when people decide to run for politics, they're running for the greater good of the community and not because they want a forever check. So that was my main thing, is like, check yourself, like really understand your social responsibility, 1, in politics, and you're literally messing with folks' lives. 2, at the march, just be open. Marches are different everywhere. Marches and rallies are different everywhere. So when you show up, just be engaged, be ready to do it. If there's a drum circle, get in there. You know, because they're just different. I can't tell you. And that's it. And promise to follow up on anything. If you promise to help someone, do that. If you promise to be at a rally, do that. I mean, but follow up is huge right now. And we need more people following up and following through and showing up and showing out and all those good things.
Do you have any other sort of fears for the future, just in general or politically, from the march?
Fears?
Yeah, fears.
No, I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. I have fears every day, which I discussed, but overall, I'm filled with more hope and anxiety, which is like, can we hurry up and start making this change, right? Than like anything else. Like, we have 2 female women running for governor in Georgia. Like, hallelujah. Like, like, that's awesome. Like, I just can't wait to vote. Like, so that's where I am. I'm just like this anxious little, like, oh my God, it's gonna be so cool. I'm going to be the first one there to vote and to be engaged and to hear these forums and these candidate rallies. Like, oh my God, it's going to be sick. So I'm more hopeful and anxious than I am fearful. And that's a good thing.
That's good.
Yeah.
That gives me hope.
Yeah, you should be hopeful. Like, listen, they're super inept. So, like, so there's one win. And then two, like, they get voted out.
Yep. And
we can lead that cause into getting these folks removed from office. And that's amazing. That's the democratic process. It's not North Korea.
Thank God.
Right, right. He probably thinks he's a fantastic leader. Everyone loves him.
So I've gone over most of my questions. I have one here that I haven't gone over yet. It's, did any part of the march surprise you? Speakers, interactions that you had with individuals, turnout, like anything?
Turnout surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
Speakers willing to speak on some awesome things and not know me and trust me surprised me. The question of can men be involved surprised me. So we were constantly saying, and men, you can come. That was funny. Because I didn't even think, like, but yeah. Those are the three things that kind of like really surprised me. And then just the awesome turnout and energy of this community was amazing. And they didn't feel left out, and they didn't even care about like that this was part of a national movement. They were so stoked to be involved in something on their own local terms that was connected to a national movement. So that surprised the hell out of me, yeah.
Was there a lot of media coverage of?
Yes, it was too much. I was so like, I was doing like TV interviews at like 5 and 6 in the morning, and it was in the middle of the square. It was empty. Like I was like, yeah, this is where we're gonna march. Be here. Like, but I loved it, right? So it was cool. But yeah, it was a lot of media coverage, and I was not ready for that. I am a funny little low-key person. I might be loud, but I really don't like doing too much media. Unprovoked media. Now, if I do it for my job, it's different. But when it's like, oh, talk to Amanda, and I'm like, what? I don't know. It was, yeah, we got speakers and paint. Just come down.
Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about activism, about getting involved, about the march, about Day Without a Woman, anything in this realm?
Yeah, so I feel like those things that we've done here from Atlanta to Savannah, because Atlanta and Savannah were the only major cities that participated. That was another thing that we were very proud of as Savannahans. Is I really want to turn Georgia blue. And I feel like we're in a better position than we were a year ago because of this movement and because of folks getting engaged. So yeah, that's the only thing. Like we're not purple. I'm not gonna fall for purple. Like I want blue. Period. There's no other way.
Is there a path that you see to make that happen?
Yeah. So I think we would have to just basically copy your opposition. So you start locally, turn in your local offices predominantly Democratic. That helps it. That makes it easier. Then you look into state offices and getting those areas that can be flipped. Then you go after your federal. You go after your congressman. Good old Buddy Carter. Look for their weaknesses. When can we actually fundraise and run a competitive campaign against them? But I think it's in stages. Money is tight here on the Democratic side, so I really like the idea of the plan of going after seats that are flippable by 200 and 300 votes rather than like the long shots of the whole state. But then even then, like, you know, honest, like just really analyzing the field and being like, all right, that's viable, let's support, let's all go in more of a unanimous front to this. So yeah, I think Georgia can turn blue though. Not 18, but 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I asked this in another interview, but with Savannah being below the sea level or at the sea level, do you think that has impacted like how climate change was like important or not important in any of these marches or any of the...
So our climate change in Savannah's conversation was around preservation.
Okay.
And so for us, it's like not eating up our natural resources. Even though sea level, that's like more so like California's gonna sink off the edge. Like, sorry, Mom, but she knows how to swim. She does. But for us, it was more so about like, we've got all these Ogeechee River keepers, like making sure people aren't polluting our natural resources that we should be using. I worked with the water department recently on a program, and it was really cool because they brought us all this fresh, clean water, right? And they donated it to us, and I was like, what? And then I was skeptical because I was like, city water. Tasted it, I was like, this is fantastic. I was telling everyone, I was like, drink that water. It's from the city conservation unit. Like, it's fantastic. So that's where we come from here in the Savannah area, is really looking at it. The historical society and saving historic buildings, yes, but also like, what kind of work-live spaces are we doing? Are we gentrifying our environment by trying to force, certain types of lifestyles on communities that it doesn't work because they can't afford to live that way? Also like about investing in neighborhood parks in a different sense of like growing our own food and teaching people how to go organic. So it was more so those conversations with folks, and it was really about like preserving our space and stop abusing it before we don't have it anymore. Yeah. But we did talk about, climate change is evident every day. So like we had our first hurricane in how many years? In October. Like, I'm not going to deny that. And I'm a sweaty person naturally. So like lately, like these like thunderstorms and this heat and this humidity, and I'm like, sweet Jesus, this is a long summer. And you notice it. So it's also acknowledging that there's something happened. These plants that we have all over everywhere and all that good stuff, they need to be moderated and they need to be, I wouldn't say governed, but there should definitely, the EPA has a place. Like it or love it. So yeah.
Exists for a reason.
Jesus. It's like a no-brainer. Or is it?
I think that's everything I have. But if there is anything that you would like to add now or later, we're here. So
okay. We
can always turn the recorders back on. So yeah. I think it's something else. I'm going to go ahead and turn them off.
All right.
And thank you for talking with me. I had a lot of fun.